Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and today we're going to talk about something interesting that has happened with Twitter, which is basically the public square. So, and supposed bastion of free speech and information sharing. So, in the past week, Elon Musk, he took a 9.2% stake in Twitter, and because I think he did a poll a couple weeks ago. I think he said something along the lines like, should I buy Twitter? And people overwhelmingly said yes. And so he's now taken a seat, also a seat on the board. So, Esty, what are the facts?
So Giles Turner and Craig Trudell of Bloomberg News are reporting Elon Musk takes 9.2% stake in Twitter after hinting at shakeup. Elon Musk bought 9.2% of Twitter to become platform's biggest shareholder. His stake is worth about $3 billion.
So it's interesting. I've seen him do this before. He'll ask about things that he kind of knows the answer to, but like several weeks before, he had actually done the transactions. And so I believe what I saw on some of the other news reports was that he started buying shares of Twitter like a month ago. And so by the time he had finally bought it all, that's when he asked the question, hey, should I buy Twitter? And he's done that with several things in the past, asking if what their opinion is. I remember the one about selling a certain percentage of his shares 3 or 4 months ago in Tesla. Do you think I should sell 10% of my shares or something like that? And everybody said yes. And then he had already sold it or had filed to sell it, which I thought was kind of funny. And so then there was also a post I saw on Facebook that he said, can I buy Facebook? I don't know if it was legit or not. I just remember seeing it on Twitter and somebody had kind of screenshotted his little supposed blue check mark on Facebook asking if he could buy that as well. So the insinuation is that because he's been very vocal on free speech, and now everybody on the right obviously expects him. People are saying, bring back Trump. And Alex Jones and all these people that were banned, and then people on the left are just freaking out. And so I think today they are going to have Elon Musk, now he's on the board, is going to talk to the Twitter employees and do a Q&A with them.
I have a strong opinion about this because I look at it and say, such a small percentage of the people actually follow their Twitter feeds. And
something like 10% of the users are engaged.
And then from that percentage of users that follow it, only a small percentage of them actually contribute to the feed. But if Twitter is the driving force of the media, if the media is paying attention to that, and they're going to follow the Twitter feeds, the things they're subscribed to, then Elon Musk, in my opinion, is a hero at taking control of this, hopefully in the name of free speech. Should we expect that?
Well, that's what a lot of people, especially people on the right, believe that because the other things they've talked about is making the algorithms public. So anybody can look at the algorithm and tell if it's been changed to favor certain perspectives. Because, what people see and what they complain about, and if you look at any of the Project Veritas videos where the engineers talk about how the shadow banning works, where people look and go, oh, wow, I guess nobody likes my post. And what the engineers were saying and laughing about with the hidden video was it's not that nobody likes your post, it's just nobody's seeing it. So people, what happens is they just get less of a reach. So maybe 10% of the audience that you would normally reach, you're just in essence not allowed to reach. That's what happened to me in TikTok. And you can go look at my TikTok videos and they were blowing up. Comments, people were going berserk, doing hate videos and stuff. And then, it just dropped. Went from getting tens of thousands of views to, barely a few hundred views for every time a new video comes out. And I mean, everybody sees it. The audience sees it. And like you can literally see the day from one day to the next where thousands of views, hundreds of views, and that's what happens. You just, on Facebook, they call it deep boosting. They actually have a button where you push on a profile and just go, and it reduces your reach by like 90%, I think it is.
Well, and maybe
So
this is
people
where
don't
I'm
get
confused.
upset.
Because, for me, I'm, in my Twitter feed, I'm right wing. I follow right wing feeds. And when I look at Twitter, that's what I see. I see things from a right wing perspective. So I have to wonder, is Twitter really driving the media, or did possibly Elon Musk just piss away $3 billion at his purchase of that percentage that he now owns?
Well, he got a seat on the board, and so now he can influence policy. And even Jack Dorsey said that Elon Musk cares a lot. He cares about free speech. And if you read some of the tweets from Jack Dorsey, he admits that he and his company and the work that he's done has contributed in some ways to having less free speech and things being less fair. But also at the same token, he's kind of like, what can we do? So now with Elon sitting on the board, he can look at things just analytically. If a certain person gets banned and go, what's the reason, what's the logic why this person got banned? Where did they violate, and call them out. And that's what people are hoping, that because he's been remarking over the last few months that it's not really, this is the public square and it's not really that free. And we got to do something about it. So he took his money, and so that's what we're assuming he's been complaining about. So you assume he's going to make it better.
Yeah, I understand that. Elon Musk is pro free speech. I agree, and I support him in his efforts to make his free speech available to everybody. The question I have is his ownership in Twitter. He spent a lot of money for 10 to 15% ownership.
9.2%.
Is that enough to change the algorithm to make the right-wing perspective equivalent to the left-wing perspective?
We're going to find out. I mean, if Trump gets reinstated or Alex Jones or some of these other people, that'd be a good sign. Or there's a process put in place where they can redeem themselves. So as part of the, if you're going to take a seat on the board, I guess it's limited to somewhere around like 14%. You can't own more than 14%, or you and your consortium of people can't have more than 14%. And if he's not allowed to have his input, or he doesn't like the way things are being done, or he doesn't feel they're being done fairly, he can execute a hostile takeover and buy the rest, and he can do what he wants, basically. And
which, me personally, I'd be behind him immediately. In other words, if there was another social media platform equivalent to, similar to Twitter, in the name of Elon Musk, in the name of free speech, everyone has a voice. We're not going to censor you. I'd be there immediately. And I would abandon Twitter immediately. I would no longer entertain that account. I wouldn't even read my feed. If there was a real player in the social media space that had the kind of potential, the influence that Twitter does. Twitter started years ago, and over time we realized they were under the influence of the left-wing perspective, the censorship, the lack of freedom of speech, lack of health freedom, lack of all those things that we as conservatives stand for. Twitter has an advantage of being a first in the industry player. If someone like Elon Musk came up and said, no, you know what? I'm going to create a platform where everyone has the ability, even the things that I don't agree with, the other side, the other perspective, everyone has a fair share to tweet, to speak, to give their opinions. And the people have the right to upvote, downvote, contribute to the algorithm of what should be spoken. I'm behind that 100%. Whether it's Elon Musk or I don't care who it is. But we're America. Aren't we about freedom of speech? Isn't that like one of the most important freedoms we have as Americans?
Yeah, you got to be able to speak your mind. That's one of the cornerstones of the Bill of Rights, is being able to have free speech and not have it censored. And with Twitter being the public square, and what you see is the mistakes, for the most part, all go in one direction. And that's towards the direction of censoring people on the right, and very few people on the left get censored. And that's, the hypocrisy that he's noticed and that he's been calling out.
We had a talk about Elon Musk and his financial ability to fund these things. Personally, I wish he had came out with his own platform. I would have jumped on board like that. I'm glad he has the ability to where even because Twitter, Facebook.
Work smarter, not harder. I mean, what is he worth on? How many billions is he worth now? Somewhere around 120 billion, and so he basically spent $3 billion to buy 10%. So it wouldn't cost too much more to buy up enough shares to basically do whatever he wants with it, whatever it takes to make it fair, to where people don't feel like they're being banned, because it already has the name brand, the recognition, and the audience is there.
Yeah.
So if you can fix it, which is what, because mostly the left runs Hollywood. If you look at the guys that run Google or Apple, or even Zuckerberg openly admits this, that Facebook leans left. And when everything goes in one direction, and then you have the main public square, because the way things tend to work for the news cycle is that things get batted around and verified on Twitter for a couple of weeks. And then once the story gets too big to ignore, then that's kind of when you see it show up in the mainstream media. And so if he actually does what he says, and we see some people get unbanned, or there's a path of redemption for them if they do certain things or whatever, to where they can, like Trump or Alex Jones, where they're able to speak, and he does things with the algorithm where people are no longer shadow banned that were shadow banned. I mean, I know personally my Twitter has been stuck at the same amount for, I think, the last 6 or 7 years. It doesn't go anywhere. It goes, up or down 40, 50 people max. So it goes up and then it goes down, and it just kind of stays in that range. It's interesting to watch. It's the only social media that is growing, other than where I got banned on Pinterest, and they never told me why I got banned. They just straight up banned me and wouldn't give me an explanation and blew it off. And my Pinterest was doing amazing. I remember looking at the engagement that I was getting on all the different slides and images and stuff that we put on Instagram. That was also put in there. It was amazing how well that it was doing. And then they labeled my website. They said it was spam. I was like, what? And then I appealed it, and they just say, well, our decision's final. And then I was getting hundreds of thousands of engagements every day, and then it just went down to like 10,000 a day. And then it stayed there for about a year, and then a year later I got emails saying that we had been banned. And no strikes, we never said this specific content or nothing. They just banned us, and that was it. Didn't tell us why.
It was
they wouldn't
yesterday.
Explain it.
Yeah, yesterday I was visiting one of my web pages that had it was an embedded YouTube video, and I found out yesterday this channel has been closed by YouTube. Okay, apparently I've been shadow banned on YouTube, and that channel no longer existed. It is what it is. We're under the power of those that are controlling the social media channels.
The ones that write the algorithms.
Whether it's YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, TikTok, any of them, I'm super glad that there's someone that Elon Musk, that someone like him that could step in and give their influence. And I know how much money it could cost to take over something like 10% of Twitter. And I'm glad he can afford the fact that if it fails, he's doing us a service anyway, because he can start up his own social media platform in the name of freedom, free speech, health freedom, all of those angles that are so dear to us that, we'd be able to speak freely on. And, whether it's through Twitter or the next social media platform, my hat's off to him for making that decision to invest in Twitter.
So apparently, Elon Musk is worth somewhere around $300 billion. So, I mean, this was that like 1% of his net worth to get 10% of Twitter. So it's peanuts. I mean, at the end of the day, he's got enough cash, enough leverage, enough stock, enough assets where he could buy as much of it as he needed to fix it. And I believe, based on his track record, that he will do it, because he tends to do the things that he says he's going to do. So I'm really interested to see what happens.
A lot of people say that, Twitter isn't that important because, only 20% of the population even follow Twitter. And of that 20%, there's only a smaller percentage that are really influencing the people. But if indeed the media is following Twitter, if Twitter is leading the things that we see on mainstream media, well, all of a sudden it's a whole lot more important. For that reason, we need someone that is willing to take control and de-emphasize one agenda over the other. Get rid of the agenda.
De-emphasize wokeness, cultural Marxism, divide and conquer.
Yeah, free speech. It's a beautiful thing we have in America. We have, left wing, we have right wing. We have Democrats, we have Republicans. We have different balancing perspectives. And myself, as someone that leans right wing on most topics, I realize the importance of having a balance or an opposing view. In most cases, for me, it seems ridiculous. The opposing view often seems ridiculous. But there's times, too, when I have to look at it and say, okay, that might make sense in this particular case. I happen to be one of those people that I'm concerned about the planet. I'm concerned about, the air quality and water quality and the things that we're doing for our future generations. To me, that's important. I think for most right-wing people, that's important. It might be skewed from the perspective of the other side and saying, oh, well, you guys want to burn coal and all these other things. Yeah, but we want to simplify it. We want to bring it closer to home. We want to burn less coal. We want our planet to survive. So there are different sides of the media. And when it comes down to it,
you'll own nothing and you'll be happy.
Well, as I studied it, I want to make sure, am I on the right side of the agenda? When I look at it from a truth perspective, what do I stand for? And what does my party stand for? What are the things that are important to them? We seem to be on the same page. I feel good about it. I've questioned it many, many times. And again and again and again, I realized, no, the Conservative Party stands for truth and the good qualities and the things
they say they do, but quite, we were talking when Jen was here. It's like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's the uniparty's going to uniparty. With the Democrats, you get fast track to socialism. With the Republicans, you're kind of taking the slow train to socialism. But at the end of the day, both tracks are leading to the same place: more control by a mafia elite, a fascist elite, if you will, and they use Marxism, the song of socialism and envy, and you'll be taken care of. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. that kind of thing. And I mean, at the end of the day, when you look at the history of Marxism, Karl Marx, Engels, the rich trust fund baby that financed him, they wanted to reorder society in their way. They felt society would be better. Engels was not some guy that had to struggle and build a business and work his way up. He was born with the silver spoon in his mouth, and he had too much time on his hands, and he wanted to reorder the society. And then he meets this guy Marx, and I mean, at the end of the day, you look at the stuff that the World Economic Forum guys are talking about. The ESG, the equity, social justice, green. I mean, these are all Marxist principles. It's under the guise of, hey, we're going to have a more just world, a more just society. We're going to have this global authority. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. You'll rent everything you need. You'll rent the place where you live. You'll rent your car. You'll rent your clothes, and therefore you'll probably be broke and therefore always working these kind of BS jobs or getting some kind of small universal basic income type of handout, and then you'll be under their control, and they believe the world will be better run by people like that. And on top of that, they want to have less human beings. They want to get human society down to like 500 million people, whereas Elon Musk is going, we need to have more kids. The population is going to collapse. If we're going to build a base on the moon, if we're going to terraform Mars, we need millions and go out through the galaxy. We need millions and millions of more human beings to go and do these things.
I hear what you're saying. I agree. We need more good human beings to do these things. And I still have to look at it from both perspectives, though, right wing, left wing, and say left wing wants more control, more policy, more government. Right wing says less. And they both have their benefits. One is that we're under the complete control of the government and we become this communist society. And the complete opposite of that is we have, no care for the planet. But we do. We can look at the right-wing perspective and say, in having less regulation, we're able to source our energy locally, which is less pollution than bringing it from Russia.
Plus, it keeps the cash circulating in our economy, which is good for the economy because we pay our own people to take it out of the ground. We pay our own companies to buy it from them. But when you buy it from foreign entities, they get our cash, we get their oil or their fuel or their natural gas, and that money leaves circulating in our economy to go circulate in their economies. And we printed that money and devalued our currency, and now we no longer get the benefit of it once it leaves our shores, other than when those people take all the billions that they've made and come back and buy our houses at 60, 70 cents on the dollar when they've been foreclosed upon once the economy crashes, which is what you see a lot of, because I've been in real estate, off and on throughout my life, and I got friends that still work in it, and they have a lot of foreign people, a lot of foreign interests that have hundreds of millions of dollars, and they love when the economy crashes over here because they come over and they buy up real estate 60, 70 cents on the dollar, put a renter in there, and then they sit on it for 8, 10 years, and then they sell it when it's at its height and make 3 times their money.
These are the tangents that I love, and they're open discussion, and we need more of it. These are the things that I hope Elon Musk can bring to Twitter. Less censorship, open dialogue, conservative, liberal perspectives colliding, so that we can make our own decisions about the future of our country.